up my phone and I'm pulled back in. Why'd you reignite that glow? Asking how I've been. If you ever wanna know it's true, I would set this on fire for you. But that's some fucking shit you wouldn't do. You ain't ever had no follow through. Loved you so much it's tragic. It drove me straight to madness. But if you ever wanna know it's true, I would burn it all again with you. I would burn, baby. Yeah, I would burn it all again with you. I would burn it all again with you. Got hard feelings you deserve. Yeah, I went through hell. And though you've got a lot of nerve, I still wish you well. If you ever wanna know it's true, I would set this on fire for you. But that's some fucking shit you wouldn't do. You ain't ever had no follow through. Loved you so much it's tragic. It drove me straight to madness. But if you ever wanna know it's true, I would burn it all again with you. You. I would burn it all. I would burn it
Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me. We're back for another session of building Milo. So last time, we built the Y-axis. I was a bit sneaky and I did go away and attach the hand wheel on afterwards, just because I hadn't printed that yet. I've got the nice LDO knurled one. and that just used that to help check my axis. It's still running smoothly. So hopefully, when we put the X on top, nothing changes there. How's everyone doing today? Right. So, X-axis assembly. We're going to be starting with the C-beam and lots of bolts. Voila. Don't need the keyboard anymore, now you guys can hear me. I'll send you some touch-up, you've got metallic and everything. I thought the whole idea was that we hid the screws, not make them shinier. Right, and we need 2 rails. It should go basically the full length of this extrusion. 500 mil rails. That's the ones. Then we're going to need a whole bunch of M3 by 10s. Units. I know I had you already, M3s. Right. Oh, and not to forget our trusty thread lock. Right. Let's get these rails opened. Hi, Thomas. Right, let's play the music volume question again. How loud do we want it? Audible? Not audible? Right. Oh, let's get these rails out. Always be careful they don't cut on the bag. You don't want to lose all your balls. The V0 is actually printing the second hand wheel. Might be easier to see it from above. Printing the second hand wheel for the axis we're about to assemble, so for the X-axis. I printed the Y one yesterday after the stream. I'm still in my cold ass garage, which means it's got a teeny tiny heater in here. But it's great because we're maintaining 56 Celsius inside the chamber, and I've not had a single ABS part warp since I put that in there. Which is nice because it went from almost every print failing to none of them failing. Right, let's get these lot wiped down. Pretty clean, but just get any of that transport oil off. What's everyone else been up to today? Work, I guess. Right, cleaned up rails. Keep that for third locker later. Right. So, as we said the other day, we're doing Ray's method, which means we're going to install the rails with carriages onto the extrusions, rather than take the carriages off the rails. Ooh, what is that inside that Tina? Oh, okay, just a little bit. Right. Work all day and more work in half an hour. Oh no, how can you have more work in half an hour? 2 jobs? Hey, what? I hear a printer. Yeah, I know. I need to set my settings slightly different. Is it too loud and annoying, or is it okay? I'm printing my my hand wheel. That's fine. Yeah, it just so I've got like a filter on the audio, which means that anything under a certain volume, it sort of doesn't kick in. But the printer seems to be just over that threshold, and I probably should have tweaked it a little before we got going. But here we are. Right. Okay, that's fine. That means it's working sort of as intended. Getting rid of that background noise. Yeah, so they're Vera. Can't remember how you pronounce it, but Jake's got a set as well. They're really nice. Mine are a little bit battered and bruised now. I've had them for about 8 years, so I would recommend. I have no affiliation to the company, just like the tools. On the flip side, if anyone that works there is watching, I'd love more of them. We can only dream, mate. They're about 20 quid, I think, for a set. Nothing too pricey for the regular Allen keys. The aim for today is to not have to disassemble an axis. What are the chances? It's pretty low if I'm clumsy like that. Let's go turn that down a little bit. Yes. Cool. So using the little alignment clips as we did the other day. Just make sure the ends of the rails are lined up. Yeah, I was getting there. You beat me to it. Yeah, you were just a slight fraction too fast. Pretty straightforward, just repeat the same again on the opposite side. you have a tiny bit of OCD, get the the T-nuts the right way around. You know, I want to see 3D Maker noobs mill up and running. He absolutely smashed it out the park, and then I think he's learning. He's doing some practice in the background, so he can just pretend to be a noob. Just sing with the music. Yeah, I planned that all along. I always print in time with the vibes. That's not one. That's not one. Right. So same tactic as I always do. Something thin and pointy just to poke through and make sure the T-nuts are lining up. The holes. You're always best to put your alignment clips on near the ends of your extrusion. Just helps keep, gives you the least chance of it getting out of whack. Just gonna check something. Hopefully that wobble is my table and not this extrusion. I think it's my table. It's made of cheap MDF plywood. Yeah, so I mean I basically did that the other day. I had his stream on for like the entire day whilst I had family here. My parents got weirdly into watching it and were really disappointed it didn't run at the end. Oh god. Well, thankfully the V0 is not running CAN bus or an M8P, so hopefully I'm safe to update, but I think I'm a few versions behind on that little guy. You know when it's just working and you don't need the new feature, and well, yeah, why change if it's not broken until I whack out the until I whack out the upgrade kit. But not yet. Not yet. Too many projects to do before then. Although I'll be honest, I cannot wait to get rid of that annoying printed hat on the V0. Right. Joseph. I knew I was going to go through the rabbit hole and I was thinking, let's make the day worse. Fair enough. I haven't actually ran a printer that's used the CAN based boards yet. I've always just done USB. Never really seen the advantage of the CAN bus ones. Not over such a short distance. So I do suspect when we put this assembly onto the other half, we're going to have to loosen one of these rails a bit like we did on the y-axis just to get it all nicely aligned, but I'm just going to do them both up reasonably tight for now, just so nothing moves around whilst we're doing the rest of the stuff. Right. This keeps wobbling, it's bugging me. Just want to confirm that it's my table and not the rail, or having a bad day tomorrow, later. It's fine. Okay, it is in fact definitely my table that is not flat. Right. There's an interesting video on how the backlash of the loom can affect the print. So I haven't personally experienced too much of an issue with the backlash, but the basically when the print head gets to the front of the bed and the loom's right at its limits and pulling it backwards, I've noticed a bit of a tilt. Particularly on bigger printers, ones where you've got limited height for that loom. That's where it's had an effect, and you see it quite clearly in the bed mesh. You have this lovely bed mesh and then it just goes wonk at the front. Ooh. That wasn't an LDO one though, was it? That was a different one you purchased. Right. Okay, so we've put rails on. Cool. Now we need some bearings and the bearing blocks. So it's just one, this one, isn't it? Not two per side. Good if they're a bit loose, my prints. So one side of one of these didn't push fit in quite as nice as I have experienced in the past. It was maybe a tiny bit looser than I wanted it, but once it was all tightened in, I didn't seem to feel any issues. But we'll see. So we want flanged, round one, flanged one. Oh yeah, it's maybe a tiny bit looser than I'd like there. I'll have to see about that. Yeah, previously I had quite a lot of shrinkage issues when I printed my own bits of these before, and I had the opposite issue, and I really struggled to get them in. But yeah, we can see possibly want a fraction tighter there. But yeah. Okay, don't need this one yet. Why is chat making me sign in? I've lost you all. Ah, good, we're back. Right. So, I have a bearing block. Now I need the one with all the heat set inserts. For those of you who are ready for that. Ta-da! I prepped for once. Right. Sorry, let's get back to Chrome. So we want to assemble this one into one end of my carriage. Take these little clips off. Going to prop this up because this stage always gets a bit annoying with the the bearing block sitting much higher than the actual assembly. Right, it's better. Cool. So we need the M5x12s in the end. We've got a lot of those. What are the bearing fits like on your prints, Josh? You reckon mount it to the Y first? Nah, I don't think it makes a difference at this stage, but I'm not going to put the lead screw through, obviously. That'll get annoying. Right, so a little reminder is this part here always sticks up over the edge a little bit. That's basically leaves space for the fixture plate, to sit sort of flush with the top. Everywhere. Wow, that's a lot of faith in those rubber stops. Let's get this to actually line up in that hole. Thank you. There we go. Why are you not going in? You guys probably got a better view than I do from up there. Right, yes, we may have a little look at the hole sizes. Let's see where we get to. Keep getting off screen. Forget where my camera is. Probably better that way while I'm doing this. It's always hard with these long parts. You never quite know whether it's going to be better to try and get the detail in, or just accept that that's just going to make people feel seasick. And go for the wide view. Right, these bits here, if you've got any warping, when you tighten this up, this is when you find out, because you hear that crack, but it's all gone quite well here. again, I suspect we'll have to adjust that. So, what do I want? I want chrome. Right. Next two end pieces on. And 5x12s again. So when I fully assemble this and put it on Milo, I tend to use the fixated plate on top as a almost like a reference plate to get it all flat. Go through the hole. Yep. And my dog keeps poking her head around the door like, why are you still in the cold garage? Why are you not on the sofa? Giving me attention. And she's probably got a valid point. Right, so just get both of those started. Right in. Actually, what I'm going to do, whoop, get this flat plate out. Apologies. It's quite heavy. Put it down on there. And just use that flat surface to set my reference while I'm assembling this. Try and get them all level. It's also handy because it's got a lip on the end, so it just drops off the end quite nicely. And that's what stops you from being able to do it just on the table itself. Right. I think we have to go and let the dog out. Right, 1 second. Right, if I forget in the next few minutes, remind me to let the dog back in. She will bark, but she sits out there for ages. Right. What are you guys up to while you're watching me do this then? You're planning your next builds, or are you just killing time? Working. Yeah, so wants to see the doggo. Oh well, she definitely can. I'll let her back in a minute, and she can have some screen time. Do you guys have a dog? Breaking some client's website. Fantastic. Well, if you want to get on and break any of our websites and then tell us how to fix them, that'd be much appreciated. To talk to DHL actually and organise all of our shipping so that we can actually start shipping abroad. We've had a lot of requests from Europe, I think, because we're a lot cheaper than 3D Jake, but logistically we're just not ready for it yet. Oof, that is a long trip. Pick up a jumbo 500 size print. What print are you picking up that's 500? Rat rig. Let's go get this doggo. Cool, all of those bits. Just flip this round. Right, back in a sec. Here she is. Look. Who's that? Can you see him on the screen? This is Bourbon. Labradoodle. She has a little bed just down here that she likes to sit on while I'm doing these things. Yes, puppy. And she'll bark at me when she gets bored. Right. Where was I? Ah, yes. So all of these side pieces. Let's do this top down. So it goes long one in the middle, long one in the middle. I do. There we go. Right, time to place a lot of T-nuts in the M5x12. So. You know, I was thinking this little bag of M5 is going to run out pretty quickly. And then I found this bag. I think I might have enough. Let's just line things up. So, down there. Hey guys, just so you said a stable bot from Luke's lab. Quasi-closed sourced. He's just too lazy to keep Git updated. Built for fast volume printing. Ooh. Actively heated chambers are the way to go, man. I've spent a fair bit of time at an industrial site recently that has one of the Stratasys. I can't remember exactly which one, but one of the big ones that's like bigger than my workspace. And like the part that came out of there was surprisingly slow, actually. I was expecting it to be faster, seeing as they made quite a lot of claims about speed. But like it was just like immaculate. It was a huge, big ABS part with like zero warping and just like comes straight out off the little support raft that they print on there. Right. Just move this out of the way before I knock it off. Let's see what I'm doing all the way over there. Yeah, I know, tell me about it. Like I said, I've got the V0 is actively heated now, and we're, yeah, it's circulating at just 50 something Celsius. It's like, it just prints. It just prints, it's nice. Definitely going, at the very least, some sort of recirculation fan or bed fan. You know, trying to utilise that bed heater to actually heat the rest of the build volume as well. a bit better, but probably another PTC heater. But I need to change this one so that it's actually tied in to either a relay or get like a 24-volt one and tie it into one of the spare heater outputs, so it can be turned on at the start of the print and off at the end, because at the moment I need to manually do that, which is annoying. And 5x12s. Right, I'm just going to do these up loosely to start with, and then when I've got everything in place I'll tighten them up properly. Did you have to change anything else on your V0 to manage to survive 95 chamber temperature? I feel like the ABS parts would be starting to struggle there. Huh? They have a 5x12, didn't it? And 5x12 for that direction. And 5x8 for the opposite direction. There we go. Well, can't keep up with the chat here, so we've got... I need a screen above my camera, then I can actually look like I'm looking at you and speaking to you. It's lacking a bottom plate. I'm pretty sure bottom plates didn't exist when I built that one. There certainly wasn't one in the... certainly wasn't one in the kit. What else is going on here? Trying to get some work done. Fair, good luck. The rest of us are here having fun. I had someone bootstrap you with PCCF parts. Other than that, lots of insulation, nickel heaters, fans added. It's stock, but I do run another tool head. Nice, so just PCCF parts. Only real change. It's impressive that 95C. What heater are you using to hit 95C for your chamber? There's still a PTC one that you can trust not to like run away if you're not controlling it well, or if you got closed the loop with a like a chamber sensor. I really want to get my Ratrix and my bigger printer insulated. I probably won't double panel it because that would be quite expensive and annoying. But yeah, put some insulation on the inside and add an active heater to that one so that I can knock out ABS parts a bit quicker and nicer. Because I'm always lazy and get Jake to do my sets since I donated my other ABS capable printer to work. You should make aluminium parts when your kit comes in. Yes. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, did you use the some of the machine parts kits that are out there? I saw. I can't remember which brand it was. SMRI Smurf. And actually, I was quite impressed with the machine parts they had. They looked like a decent quality. But it could just be that they picked the one set of demo parts that were nice. Some risk. It is PTC, some risk, but you won't get hot enough to cause fire. DFH and US carriers a Crider Mini. I tied for pi and matched with a chamber thermistor. Yep, fair. So you're turning the PTC off using a relay controlled by the pi so that it can switch. Is it a 24 volt or is it a mains voltage? etc. Yeah, sorry guys, got distracted by the printer things. All I'm doing is putting the bolts in. Nothing fancy here. Just working my way through them. Remember, longer bolts at the back. And we'll come back and basically tighten all these up and wipe any rogue thread locker off. Part of me really wants to machine these. I feel like that'd be quite fun with the, you know, with the angles and stuff. But probably pretty low priority. Especially once you've got a fixated on the top. So it's appeared set as a heater with loose safeties to keep it from triggering clipper shutdown. Mains filters. Yeah, cool. Please do. Like I said, I'm looking to do something similar on my big rat rig when I get round to it. Basically so that I can smash out these big parts nice and quickly and reliably. For all of the dev for Milo. It's about time that someone else other than Jake did some of the early days testing on the actual machine builds. To be fair, and if it goes well, we've already had quite a few printed parts kits requests from our desktop machine shop. Why are you not sitting flat? Desktop machine shop store. So depends how well Jake can keep up on those. Where's that not? I've had a T-nut make a run for it. Go on, drop back in. Yes. Have to dig that one back out, unfortunately. So, is there a video or series on getting started with Milo and Fusion 360? Aramco Phil has done a few. Certainly, we do need to do more kind of tutorial, more on the tutorial side. I'm just going to swap this Tina out. I guess part of the issue at the moment is lots of people are using different post processors. And we're working on standardizing all of that for you guys, so that by the time everyone else gets up and running, there should be one dedicated post processor. That everyone uses, and that will hopefully mean we get some more tutorials and a bit more consistency in the guidance on how to do that. That being said, the Fusion 360 toolpath generation is pretty much independent of Milo. If you just look at any of the popular YouTubers that kind of show how to do that, it should be good. Did I? Oh, yeah, I did already put it like that. That being said, as I get stuck in, it's been a while since I've used RepRap firmware on a Milo with as quite a lot of you know, I run Linux CNC on my one in Casa behind me. So I'll probably be doing a series, continuing on from the build of setting up the firmware and how to set up some basic jobs. I've been working on some like parts kits that we sort of spoke about. Oh, these are toasty from being on top of the printer. Where's they gone? So the idea being we're going to start selling project kits at desktop machine shops. So little things like these are kind of the steps. Your 3 setups going from your bit of stock to your first op, which leaves the top hat, and then your finished holder for the fixated plate. We're going to be starting to sell little project kits like this, where you just get enough stock to get it wrong a few times, along with instructions on how to do it, how to set it up in Fusion 360, etc., and include the extra fasteners and bits and bobs that you will need for it. Yeah, we had feedback at Smurf that people wanted to see like some guided tutorials. And like this one's good because, you know, small bits of stock. If you mess this up, it doesn't really cost you much, which is nice. Right, back to what I was actually meant to be doing. Binging. Yes, so the Titans tutorial. So the first thing I did, if you look back in my videos, if you look right back to when I first got a Milo from Jake, when it was the only one in existence, he let me borrow it for a while so that I could do some streaming, write about it a bit. Back before any of the big streamers were kind of interested. It was too small a project for them at that point in time. But I was super keen but didn't have the cash to build one at the time, so he lent me his. You look back there, I did a series where I go through and try and do the Titan parts, and now there's a good mix of me learning how to do CNC activities on a hobby grade mill. My only prior experience had been running or like a 2-week course on a mix of manual industrial grade manual mill and industrial grade vertical milling center, vertical machining center. And you know, there's a lot of learning curves now to do that, how to do it with RepRap firmware, trying to work out some bugs like the axis was swapped when I first got it, and that was causing me all sorts of confusion. We've come a long way from there, which is nice. Align these bad boys. I need to watch more of the NYC CNC videos. I started a few and quite like them, and just haven't got around to finishing them. I'm really hoping that we can upgrade at my day job to a decent machining centre, given that we just spent more than a Milo on a couple of machined parts. You know, I think the use case will probably be there, not too far away. But I'd be the only one at the moment with the skills to possibly run it, and I'd definitely consider myself not quite ready to step up to like a Haas or anything fun like that quite yet. I'd need to do some learning. Right, how are we doing? So if you remember, I've not really been paying much attention to getting this level underneath. When we flip it over, we'll have a look and see how we've done, just based on it resting on this bit of granite work surface. Oh, yeah, the Titans of CNC stuff with it all being in inches is hard. No. What is going on in here? Back out again. Where are we at? There is, so I would recommend just go through Fusion 360 itself. There's a whole bunch of CAD and CAM tutorials. When you log in, you can, I think they're pretty sure they're free. You can just go and look at those. I find that they were a really good starting point. The Finalizing does give you the cam features. Yep. All you don't get is they disable rapids and they disable tool changes, which, to be honest, if you're learning, you probably wouldn't want on anyway. And when you're on Milo, to be honest, you're probably not machining a huge part. That is not an M5. Depends why that wasn't going in. Alright, try again. So yeah, so there are some restrictions on the license, but honestly, it's not really a restriction for a hobby grade use. I guess the tool changing can be a little bit annoying, but if you're anything like me, you probably only machine most of the parts you make once, and you just probably won't have the confidence to run it from start to end with all of the tool changing just going for it. Like typically you'll just run like 1 op or 2 ops at a time, in case you need to like modify or edit something or take some measurements and just adjust your offsets or whatever. The tool length sensor and the touch probe just work on, that's all handled on RepRap firmware side. You don't need to worry about that. It's just the actual tool change itself, like posting a single G-code file from Fusion in one go. So much thread lock on my fingers today. Not nice. When you say tool change to 7, do you mean APC or do you mean you can't stop and change a Minotaur? Yeah, so basically what I mean is when you post a set of toolpaths from Fusion, you can either select one at a time or you can select a group of them all at once, or an entire like setup. But what it won't let you do is post a whole group of toolpaths that have different tools. You have to post like a block of them that are all tool number 1, say a 6mm end mill, and then it will let you post a block of them that are all like a 3mm ball end mill or something like that, or a chamfer mill, and you have to do it in sections. That's a bit annoying, but as I said, unless you actually have an ATC, you're manually changing anyway, so the annoyance of then just running the next G-code file is pretty minimal, if you ask me. Anyway. Right. I digress. Let's make sure each one of these is actually M5 when I put them in this time. Save me having to undo things. So next one is ATC. So Jake has been working, there's a chap who, can't remember what it's called, but who kind of uses the momentum of the spindle to undo and do up the ER nuts on the end of the collet. But that is about the only cost-effective way to do it when you're looking at a CNC like this, because the ATC spindles on their own with nothing else, not including the compressor that you need to give compressed air, or the fact they're all water cooled, so the chiller that you need to go with them. On its own, they're about £1,000, so $1,300 or whatever, which means it's the price of the mill again, including the original spindle, just for the ATC. I still want to do it though. But, yeah, pricey. Right. Got a bit distracted. These are actually all M5 this time. You can't do manual tool changes to a single G-code file. That's correct. This man knows his stuff. Yeah. I do need to check out FreeCAD CAM, but I'm kind of spoiled because I have the startup license of Fusion. So not only do I have all of those features, I don't have to pay for it either. So. And then I also use Fusion 360 at work, so I have a system and a setup that I know how to use. And yeah, it just saves me having to learn 2 different environments. And yeah, I think it is way more polished. I've heard mixed results from the FreeCAD CAM. But to be fair, more positive than negative, so it's kind of something we'll be following, I think. To be fair, if someone's willing to sponsor me an ATC spindle, I will make it work. I'm sure my wife will love a compressor to add to the rest of the stuff in this workshop. Yes, I have hopes that it is going to be as well. I've also heard the same, that it's being developed pretty actively at the moment. I do intend to actually look into some of the code behind it, because we do, my day job involves a fair amount, the software team, not myself, a fair amount of working with sort of toolpath generation type code. It makes me wonder, like, what can we utilize from there and how can we possibly contribute back. We've been looking for a new electrical diagram software recently, and I think we're going to go with one called SkyCAD, which is, yeah, I'd never heard of before, but it's like a game changer. We've been doing all our diagrams in Fusion, basically as if they were a PCB layout, and it's been painful. So that should be a decent step up. We looked at Autodesk, but I don't know, it kind of feels like they're giving up on AutoCAD. You know, they're kind of putting all their eggs into the Fusion 360 basket. I think AutoCAD's just going to become, you know, like one of the packages, like the cam and like everything else. Dollar. Well, yeah. Once you get out of the startup world, all these packages cost quite a lot of money. I used to have Siemens NX when I worked at Rolls-Royce, and yeah, that's about 10 grand per seat or something ridiculous like that. I just forget how long this bit takes. In my head, this build was really short, and I thought, oh no, I better start prepping for the dead axis, and then I ran out of time. But actually, I think it's going to work quite nicely just in time for bed. Yeah, Fusion does eat RAM. It really does. And I swear it's getting more and more intensive, even though they keep saying we've made it faster. But I don't know if utilising more of the computer resources so that nothing else can really counts as making it faster. Autodesk. In you go. Screen's going to turn off. What's horrible is e-drawing viewer. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why some of these factors exist. Yeah, I think it does as well, because I tried to open Fusion before this stream and it was working fine yesterday. I left it open, came back today and just nothing, totally crashed. Certainly not perfect, but forgive it sins. Right. Do. Ooh, founder's license, eh? How early did you get in to get that? What I'm hoping is I mention Fusion 360 enough on here, and then they give me the streamer's license that has the unlimited credits. Also, the 5-axis machining would be fun to have if I had a 5-axis CNC. I do want to put a 4th on one of these things, but they all eat up the Z height. Oh, I forgot about my cider. Good thing it's so cold in this garage. It's probably colder than when I brought it out of the fridge. Right. A 4 would be fun, you're right. It's been on my list for a while. I've got everywhere I've prepared for like an extra driver, so that it's there when I want it. And LDO sent me the extra motor. I want to do it. I haven't had any time to think of a design or pick a AliExpress special that works. Right. Fingers crossed. It's good. Not bad. Cool. It's looking quite well aligned. The beauty of a nice plate. Right. Yeah, did those ones already. Cool, time to attach. Right, just make some space, because otherwise I'm going to send nuts and bolts flying. A pile of shame T-nuts, go in the bin. Right. Out the way. Right. Now, what I do want to do, just get this in and running a little bit first, so that I can set the preload, so when I try and thread it through, I know that I'm very close in terms of this threading in. I had to unassemble the other axis, or this axis, because I didn't do that in advance. Yeah, we're just having that same issue here. So what I'm going to do, if you thread it in and it basically gets stuck on butting up against the other end mill, it just means like they're not aligned, because it can only start every, I think they're 4 start. Anyway, so we're just going to loosen these a little, just to give this end a little play until I can get it to thread through. And, Question about spindles, let's do this. You're getting a batch 1 LDO kit and you're in the US, which is not like, yeah, which means it's not coming with a spindle. I'm slightly going for 1.5. Square one would be nice. Is there a specific RPM range to look for? To be honest, you're probably going to struggle to get anything that is not a sort of 18 to 24,000 RPM spindle, unless you're looking at much fancier ones than you really should be. Right, there we go. That's right. I pushed this end in too much. Now my floating end. What should you be looking for? Yeah, pretty much all of them are going to be 18 to 24,000 ish. Unlikely to be that much variation in that speed. A 1.5 kilowatt probably makes more sense on sort of domestic US circuits. There we go. Put it in. The square spindles in particular aren't guaranteed to have the same flange, and a square spindle means you'll also have to do your own Z plate because it doesn't fit on the LDO one. That's worth bearing in mind. So your easiest bet is to get a round one that is air cooled, 1.5 kilowatts from someone like G Penny maybe. I can probably put a link. I think I can. Where's the one? So one of the guys in the design team has been looking. We're actually hoping for batch 2 to get quite a nice one from these guys. Possibly from these guys. So gone. Right. Why am I hiding this? Right, here it is. So you can see here, ignore the affiliate link monies. By the way, this is an affiliate link. You click it and buy it. I get a throwback. Doesn't cost you anything, but it does help out the stream. You know how it works. This one here is probably what I'd recommend. I think you can buy it without the VFD if you find like one of their other listings. But yeah, 1.5 kilowatt, air cooled, 65 mil diameter. Make sure you get an ER16 version though, not ER11, because that will limit your tools you can use. Or if they've got the 80 mil air cooled available, go for that. I think that's a custom though. I think that's a custom. Right, here's the link anyway. Yeah, they have 65 ER16 and they just now have the 80 mil. Ah, sweet. So I think they've just added that because our guys have been speaking to them. Because we were trying to get a sample from them in 80 mil, air cooled 110 volt at 1.5 kilowatts, which they just didn't have before. So that's really cool that that's now available to, well, everyone generally. If you can find the link, Josh, that'd be really good. And share that. They saw the demand. Yeah, well, they're not stupid, are they? Right, that spinning nicely. Cool. Well, as soon as I've got that installed, I may as well leave it installed. Right. Okay, let the fun begin. We need to go that way and then install from the bottom. This is always the most awkward part. And that end is the motor, which means it's on the left. No, I'm better to go this way, aren't I? And put the x-axis down on top of the y. The y down on top of the x, sorry. Right. So, front. Let's just think about this for a minute. So if I flip that over, we'd have the motor on my left, I think on my front. Cool. That's alright, John. Do check what the other guy said. If you can get the 80mm one, Josh, if you do have the link, please share it in the chat now. John, get the 80mm one because you'll get better bearings than the 65mm one. And it's got the 1.5 kilowatts and it's 110 volts. And oh, you need the VFD because the LDO kit doesn't come with one, so get the VFD with it. That first batch. And there's one other thing. Oh yeah, an ER16. Don't get ER11. That'll just limit your tooling a little bit too much. Right. I got distracted. What was I doing? Oh yeah, bolting things together. Bearing. I'm all the way back at the top with the bearing. That's not even on this page, is it? I've forgotten what length bolts I need to put these things on. So M3 by 10s. So if you're doing this way, you do just need to jump back to the X-axis assembly to find where you install these carriages on the Y-axis assembly, sorry, where you install these carriages for the X. So just get the M3 by 10s. Right. What I'm also going to do is just put not quite the right height. Squidgy, perfect. Right. Cool, so now all I'm going to do is line these carriages up. I've done what I probably should have said was I was fiddling with those anti-backlash nuts. What I was doing is getting to the point that they're tight enough that there's no play when I try and move the lead screw backwards and forwards, but it's loose enough that I can still turn it by hand without too much resistance. You maybe want to back it off just a fraction. Although you will be able to access this just once it's installed, it's definitely easier to do it at this point. Right. And then here you can just drop these screws in. Start assembling. Somewhere down here. This nut will actually, this bolt will actually catch. Eventually.
It's getting late now. Let's do it all again tomorrow.
This is kind of the reason why it suggests to do it the way it does with taking the carriages off, is that this one here is really quite fiddly. Balancing this whole axis on top of the other one and getting these M3s started. But I kind of, my opinion on this bit is that Yes, the other way is probably easier, but this way is kind of lower risk, even if it's more fiddly. I've had to assemble a few of these carriages over my time, and it's something I don't like to do if I can literally avoid it.
Summer hangouts, sipping on life with the guitar strumming. It's getting late now. Can we do it all again tomorrow?
There you go. Thank you. Again, so the same as I did yesterday, I like to get one bolt in each carriage, normally the outside corner. And then that's not needed anymore. And then just loosely, and then you start to sort of load the other ones in after. Don't do any of them up too tight until you've got everything installed. Pushed my carriage slightly too far. Three of them in there. Just checking that I've got that little bit of clearance in the bottom of the anti-backlash nut, just to make sure that it doesn't. It's one end of the anti-backlash nut tight and the other adjustment on the other end. So, sort of, you can have both loose. Most people, and I recommend this as well, is you have the side that's harder to access done up pretty tight, and you just sort of like to loosen it a little just to get the lead screw to feed through, without loosening the loose end too much, because you don't want to get it too far out so that you lose the kind of guidance of the printed part. So you do need to loosen it a little bit normally, but then the one at the front is normally one I keep quite a bit looser, and that's the one that I'll use to adjust the tension once it's installed. Interesting. This is just quite a bit off, carriage-wise. I'm gonna have to loosen this rail. As I said, I was kind of expecting to have to do this. Right. We're in. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the other bolts in, and I've got one of these rails which we aligned using the clips earlier, and I've not touched that, and that's kind of setting my reference, at least relative to the extrusions. And then I'm going to get all the nuts in, and then I will use this rail on this side to essentially I'll set the rail on this side by sliding the carriage backwards and forwards and adjusting the tension as I do that to set it in each of the positions based on the rest of the assembly. Half 9. Ooh, we're just about on time. Hopefully we get this done before 10 like the goal. As I said, when you do it this way around, you're trading a bit of fiddliness for reducing the risk of losing all your ball bearings. Let's just centre this axis as well so it stops trying to tip over from me. Right, because you can't really see, let's have a look. You can see what I'm doing here. So as you can see there, you can just get these ones in. The carriage just overlaps a little, but if you come in from an angle you can drop the bolt in the hole. Loosen these up. And the advantage of getting one in each first is you don't end up with all four not aligned, and you can use the empty holes to help align the carriage to the plate rather than them all being blocked from vision. But don't force these because it's quite easy to strip an M3 thread. If it's not going in and you have to crank it down, then it's something else is wrong basically. So you saw there that I just reduced the tightness of this rail a bit further just to allow me to get these ones in a bit nicer. I'm wondering which streamer is going to be the first one to get Milo actually cutting metal. It's the real... What's your money on, guys? I know one of the guys is obviously way ahead of the others, but what do you reckon? 6. Streamer, yeah. Yes, see, I think you're right. My money at the moment is probably on Nero. He was proper hyped on his stream as well. So yeah, I think 3D Maker Noob will have it up and running first in terms of he'll get the spindle spinning. He'll get it possibly demoed in wood first, I reckon. But then I think Nero is going to be the one that will take the plunge and go for the metal cuts first. Well, actually, I'm hoping neither of them get messed up in the software setup, because we've been working real hard. I don't know if you watched the live stream with Jake and so on. Yes, I think that is true. Can I link that stream? Probably. You're testing my ability to find stuff. It should be in the Millennium Media channel though. You just go up. Here it is. Copy link. No, not the message link. Copy link. So, just for you. Mouse is all over here. There you go. So that's the stream where they start talking about Millennium OS and all the things we're doing to try and make the setup firmware and using a mill-in Linux CNC easier and simpler. Say we, it's 9 Mile, he's the brains, the talent, and doing all of the work. But we will be testing. Yep, I'm hoping to catch a bit of Nero stream tomorrow. Yeah, I'm waiting for his streams. Right, so the Linux CNC GUI that I'm personally using is Pro Basic. You're never going to be able to see it up here, but it's there. It keeps trying to... Yeah, it's up there. But the baseline stuff, so everyone should be getting installed with the LDO kit, is it'll be RepRap firmware, so it'll be Duet Web Control, not thing. The one behind me is the one from Smurf. Yep, that was my mill. So I'm building a new LDO one here. Right, so what I've done now is I've just finished getting all the bolts in the through to the bearings, and I'm going to start to tighten up this axis and then try and adjust kind of in going backwards and forwards, doing a bit of the axis, a bit of the bearing housings. I'm going to leave those caps in and just not go all the way to the end until I get it running smoothly. But not great at the moment, but what I'm going to do is, because I've got the rail much closer by doing this, what I'm going to do is go back, loosen up the blocks now that the rails are a bit nicer, and just see where we end up. Right, what are the pros and cons of air-cooled spindle versus water-cooled spindle? So, pros of a water-cooled spindle: better cooling. Thermal transfer between water and the heating, like the spindle itself, the housing, is way better than air and a cooling housing, like a because it basically, the air-cooled ones just send it down the center of the spindle. There's not like a big radiator in there to like increase that area. And the water-cooled ones have channels inside the housing itself, so they kind of rely on the housing to conduct that heat to the water. But anyway, the water-cooled ones are way more effective from a cooling point of view, which is good for spindle life. Although, unless you're really using it a lot, the spindle should really last the life of your mill and a hobby grade one, hopefully. Oh, there we go, we're nice and smooth again. Let that seat itself all the way up and down. Let's just start doing them back up in diagonals. Anyway, back to spindles. So the advantage is better cooling. And what that means is you can run. Oh, the second part of that is the cooling that you're giving to a spindle is consistent based on how big your water cooling chiller is for the spindle, and it doesn't vary based on the speed that the spindle is going at. Which means that you can run a spindle nice or slower, as slow as these spindles can go, without worrying about overheating it. Whereas an air-cooled spindle, the cooling capacity, because the fan is literally attached to the spindle, and therefore the faster you spin, the more airflow you get. That means that to get good airflow, you need to run fast. Now, in reality, on a hobby grade machines like these and the spindles we've got, you can't really run them that slow anyway, because the torque drops off. So the fact that the cooling's only really any good kind of above 15,000 RPM, 10,000 RPM maybe at the bottom limit, doesn't have too big an effect, and it's just way easier in terms of setup. You don't need to have a water cooling circuit or anything like that, which, you know, is extra parts, extra money. Yeah, Josh has summed it up pretty well there. It's a good compromise for hobbyists. Right, how are we doing here? Good. That's better. And yeah, you're right that in reality, a hobby grade machine, you're probably not going to be utilizing it anywhere near like the utilization rates you'd expect in an industrial application. And that just comes down to life again. The water cooled bit would make it last longer in those situations. We're good right up to this very last bit of the rails at this end for some reason. Okay. It's better. Voila. Nice. Right. Let's check where we got to. So, jump back to the X-axis assembly. Inside them, yeah, they do need a bit more, but I'll get in at the end in a bit. I've got a little syringe. The RGBs in CASA make the mill work faster. Yes, they do. Right. Cool. Motor. I had a motor a minute ago. And I didn't have a motor. Right. Thought I was so organised that I forgot to get my motor out. Yeah, there is quite a lot of space back there in Casa, and the original. It was kind of designed for just for there to be a lot of room, you know, in case, because some people are putting stupidly big motors on. Some people think about raising the Z height, but in reality, you've got a fair bit of, well, quite a lot of room to play really in there. So yeah, it's fairly tight on the new version though, I must say. So if you are planning on putting some whopping great big steppers on there, then make sure you check the CAD that you can actually fit any mods you're planning. Right, just pack these M3s away so we don't lose them. Yeah, well, the folding doors are new. Took me a while to get there, but the main reason for it is my workbench shape. So if I have two doors that open like this, like it was originally, this door here was always in the way. Like I couldn't hit the E-stop, in the way I was switching away my screen. And so I decided to do a slidey one. And because the sliding door doesn't open kind of all the way, but it doesn't affect me because that's just out of my way. It's quite nice. Right. Motor, that's what I'm doing. Right. Okay. So we have the motor. Ah yes, I forgot this last time as well. Thread lock these screws. Like you said, it doesn't lock the pack. Yeah, exactly. I like to have my E-stops available to hit, regardless of whether the door is open or not. Yeah, and in my setup it just works. But people seem to quite like it, so I think it's probably going to be the default going forwards in the new Casa. Yeah, these aren't even grub screws, which is actually really nice. They're proper bolts. But they're big. We had to make the hole bigger in the motor blocks just for these LDO ones. We'd all been using the ones in that machine are half the size. Kind of makes me want a set of these for my other one. Right. Bed lock this side. Right. Where's the cable lead out? Which side? Here. Okay. Slide that in a bit. Right. Voila. I'm going to turn you over that way. Am I doing this one? Yep, I did exactly that. Right. So the connector of the motor, you want to point to the same side that all of the heatset inserts are on. If you can see them in there. Because that's where your cable chain will be and your cable lead out will go. Right. M5x20s. SHCS. Wrong size yellow one. Oh, sorry guys. Left you watching the manual. I need like an auto return feature that just returns me back from the manual each time. These definitely don't need to be this long. What are you using for streaming? Yes, I'm using OBS. Is it behaving? Yeah, OBS. I'm not using any fancy plugins or anything, just the YouTube connector. And you drive Milo manually as well? No, a few people have asked this. There is no encoders, so you'd be doing it blind. You wouldn't get any feedback on the steppers in terms of position. Also, there's no gearing on the hand wheels, so it's not a good idea really. To do it, you need to put a DRO on it, and if you were driving it backwards, you're also fighting against the inertia of the motor, even when it's not turned on, and then you'll end up back driving the motors to accidentally power your board. It's kind of all, it's just not designed around that. It's designed to be controlled as a CNC, not as a manual mill, I'm afraid. If you really wanted to, you could tear it apart, do your own build, put glass scales or something on it. But yeah, unlikely. If the tool decided to fly off. Yeah, that's true. Most manual mills, your handles are normally outside your guarding screens. To avoid that. Right. Cool. At the other end, we need the locking collars. Whoop. Right, I need people to start shouting at me if I leave the manual on. Oh, I missed a step. Oh, right, yeah, sorry. Install that before you put the... Right, locking collars. So yeah, to be honest, I'd be less worried about the tool flying at me and more worried about things. So actually, this lead screw was finished right in the middle of the wheel. When the block at the back was longer. But the block at the back got shortened to make it stiffer. Oh, you still can't see it. This thing's too big. Swap the other camera. So the block at the back was made quite a lot shorter and basically stiffen it up and improve the overall mounting of the motor. That made this one longer, which takes you away from the standard length. Now you do actually want the hand wheels. You note that I normally take the little peg out of the end. I like to just have them driven like this, holding the outside. That's because when they are spinning like this, they're not going to catch my fingers or something if I do have it open. But they're really helpful when you're debugging or you have a crash and you need to get out of a stuck situation. If you're then trying to turn these by hand, you can have a bad day. So I would opt to have them, but I probably will chop down this lead screw at the front here so that it doesn't stick out past the handwheel. Right, grub screws. Me not using round ball-ended things. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but honestly, they are really useful. They are really useful. Even if it promotes a lot of questions about using it as a manual mill. Sorry, just joined, didn't see that it was asked before. Was hoping to use it both ways. No, unfortunately not. We are looking though to add in the ability to plan facing ops in RepRap firmware. So hopefully you won't have to go to Fusion and generate cam just to do a facing op. I can do that already on Linux CNC. There's like a page where I can program basic ops just on the machine. But generally I just do it all in cam. You can sort of semi-manually do that anyway by setting your feed rate and then just jogging it across the part if you really wanted to, but like by jogging I mean in the firmware. Right. Rather than jogging by hand. Right. That's done. We'll need to do another one of them, so I'm just going to add in the grub screws. One, two. And then move this away. There isn't nothing the other end. Right. Some tiny things. I always have that panic. I never know with an LDO kit if it's a spare or if it's because I've forgotten to put it somewhere. Sometimes having the spares is like as off-putting as not having any. Right. Cool, so we're going to put this bearing block on the front now. Squeeze it in. That is just weighing down, so I'm just going to pop something underneath it. So the weight of the table isn't pressing on the lead screw, that it's on the table itself. What bolts do I need for this? It is M5 by 12s. Of course it is. 6 of them. 3, 6. Fixated to prop. Yeah, so to be honest, when I actually assemble this and get fixated on the top, I will use fixated and loosen some of these and let fixated kind of make sure these are definitely flat. Although because I did it on the board down there, the granite plate, they're probably pretty good already. Well, they are pretty good already. I can't really feel any ridges between them, but instead I'm using my screwdriver as a prop. my thread lock has been leaking all down the side when I did that. Why are you not catching? That's when I find out there is a random not tapped end to this. Is there? Let's start with this one instead of starting on the other side. But yeah, as we said, these bearings are a little bit loose to do with. Give them in a touch. Look at it. I got the bolts stuck in the other hole in the extrusion. All fun and games. Right. Let's get you both aligned nicely before I start this process. Oops. Weird? Yeah, there we go. Cool. Need to work out when the next one will be. So the next episode will be the Z-axis, including FMJs. And then as it'll probably be the weekend, I think I might just try and get the rest of the build finished mechanically during that session, but need to review what's actually left before I commit to such fun things. The good news is just-in-time manufacturing. We have a hand wheel. Well, she's just checking back with us now at the dial indicator. To be honest, you can feel it. I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but you can definitely tell when there is backlash. Just by sort of loading. That's not turned, but just by loading the axis backwards and forwards. You can definitely tell when it does it, so I would just use that. And then you're probably going to want to play with some of these things once it's fully assembled anyway. But there's no harm. I'm not going to bore you guys with it now. But More of these. Actually, I'm just going to turn this the right way up so I can see the top of the. Yeah, it's this while I tighten these up. Oh, covered in thread locker. It's becoming a new theme for this build. I'm happy with those. They're sitting nice and fluff. Good, good. Not so happy with the amount of thread lock I've got leaking out of these holes. Get in there. Quite liked really make a noob's little syringe of thread locker. My wife's sending me photos of cute cats. She's away on a course for work. Right. Let's turn this back over and do these locking nuts properly. This is the stage. From this stage onward is when this build gets tiring. Because it's when each of the individual parts start getting heavy enough to actually get tiring, flipping them backwards and forwards. So the same as for the other ones. With these locking nuts, what we're going to do. Can I zoom? In trouble. Oh, we can. Oh, right. You want to press this nut. Put my head in the way. You want to press this nut against this face whilst you push the lead screw in, and that's just helping to tension it in place. Let's see if I can do this without putting my head in the camera. So press that in, get in there and just tighten that up. Need to put the extender on really. Right, and then for the outside one, you're just going to press it in, and that's just sandwiching that bearing assembly together. And I am going to need the extender for this though, because it was just getting caught on the outside. Just press this in nice and tight. Okay, the deal. Yeah, maybe I should have. I've got some from using the grease port, filling grease ports and stuff, so. Get it out. Bloody grab screws. Come on. What size are you? Small. Maybe I've pressed that in enough. Oops, sorry guys, my head in the way again. I can't see underneath there without. Turn this around. Now I can see without my head being in the way. So when you're doing these ones, you just want to turn it so it's facing upwards if you're going to be using a regular Allen key, because you don't have much space to work. Cool. DSLR again. Works. So we've done that. Done the locking things. Drag chain parts. Yeah, some of it. Okay, do you know what? I didn't actually prepare the drag chain parts. At this point in time, you can also take off these little rubber nubbins because they're not going to stop anything anymore. Just get in the way. Right, so we need, oh yeah, off the end of the drag chains. Too much. Put it on the floor and everything. There we go. One of each end. So what I'm doing is popping out the popping off the end bits of the drag chains. Sometimes they need encouraging. So we've done the Y, so we'll be attaching these onto the X. So down here, what have we got? We have got one set going that way, which is the one with the male, the little male bits on the edges, and that goes on the side of your motor mount with three M6. M6, sorry, M3x6 F thingy ones, the little countersunk ones. Where are you? There you are. 1, 2, 3. How many people do we have on the stream at the point in time? I can't actually tell from OBS. 31 at one point. Nice. Right. Back to the manual. We need the teeny tiny ones, don't we? You're going to do yours with a syringe. Yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile. To be honest, quite a good idea. Right. That's the one. Hey Jake, how you doing? Is you just finishing work? been getting along quite well. We have an X and a Y together. Working 5 hours yet. I know the feeling, to be fair. I've got some long weeks coming up. I think after this week, my ability to play with Milos in the evenings is going to drop significantly for a little while. Right, so the sort of female side one wants to go on here, facing that away. Yeah, that's gone quite nicely, this one. Have you played with the new LDO ones? Are these yet, Jake? The hand wheels? They're nice, man. The knurling comes out really nicely. So do you want shiny new stuff duets? No, the shiny new duet stuff's probably not best for me. I'm not going to get to test them in the short period of time. They are they're closed loop steppers, aren't they? Which really appeals. Why is this not turning? Let's swap to this. The ball screws playing a little. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice little design. I remember when seeing, I think it was Dave that did the design. He was just like, I spent way too many hours doing this thing stupidly late at night. It was like 4 AM or something. No, the audio kit doesn't use closed loop steppers. We're talking about, so we spoke to the duet team at Smurf, and they have some nice closed loop steppers that are a bit fancier than your average, which is cool. Like not just the stepper driver itself trying to do things, but the board is aware of what it's doing, so it can like actually properly fix its position and compensate, rather than just if it misses a step, it doesn't really know how or when to catch it up. No, they're not. They're not cheap, but I think to be honest, I think they'd be really powerful on Milo if I had the time to do them. What is? Oh, I'm not gone yet. What's left? I'm not going to install the cable chains quite yet, or the end stop quite yet. Cool. So what I am going to do though, I'm going to pop some heatset inserts in these and get handle wheel on the X-axis. Here's a soldering iron I made earlier. Cool. Because I'm on the beta, I don't have the correct inserts for this. Or the correct grub screws, but actually using M4 bolts is quite nice because you can get some really good tension down on the axis. Missed some questions. What are the downsides of using a 3-pin control board? What is safe safety and other difference between using Remora with Linux CNC versus RepRap. So safety wise, there's not really a lot in it. Neither one uses truly safety rated IOs. I work with a lot of those in industry, and they all need to be dual channel as a minimum. For redundancy purposes, they need to have cross-checking, and they need to be rated to like such tiny number of failures in a big number. Almost nothing in the hobby world comes with the ability to deal with those correctly. Safety-wise, they're pretty similar, so it just depends how you wire your e-stops. Providing your e-stop draws power to the spindle and stops the motors moving, then safety-wise they're kind of pretty much the same. From a feature perspective, forgot I drilled that out a little bit too further. Sort this out. Feature-wise, Linux CNC and using Remora is more feature-rich by default. But the link I posted earlier for that 9 miles working on is kind of closing that gap significantly. It really is. I mean, it really is impressive what he's up to. Sorry, I'm having to modify because I have the beta kit which didn't come with the right things to do these. What's the weight? So the mill weighs about 30 kilos once it's done, give or take. It's gets quite hard to move around, trust me. As someone who took one to Smurf, I know. Although I think I made Jake do all the heavy lifting once I got there. Oh yeah, and setting up Linux CNC is a lot more complicated, even if you sort of follow an existing guide. There's a lot more to understand before you can really jump in. Insert in there, right. This is good. We are only 20 minutes behind plan, but we're on the last bit of the axis, and I can still turn that by hand. Stuck, which is a good sign. Cool. So who's watching and waiting on an LDO kit? How many new serial numbers have we got basically in the channel? That's what I want to know. Clear out these sacrificial layers. One for Brito awaiting. Nice. In Canada. Great. We've got people all over the world. Where are we? So we've got a US, a Canada. Is anyone actually from the UK here except for Jake? Because I had to use the wrong inserts for this, it's all a bit good with plastic, so I'm just going to run that all the way through and back out to clear it out. You can see what I'm doing from above if you'd like. Okay. Just trimming that plastic that got stuck there. Right. We were just saying, Jake, this front lead screw. I think I might trim mine down. Here we got Collie. Hey, dude. Good to have someone from the UK here. This, like, despite how many of us are based in the UK, from kind of like the design team, it seems weird how popular it is everywhere else. How much smaller the like community is here in the UK. Portugal. Hey, dude. Yeah, in Finland's Discord, and they kept saying RF e-stop won't feed hold or real-time overrides. Ah, yes. So they are correct. It doesn't do a feed hold, but if you kill the power for the motors, they can't move. So we achieve that in a different way. That method is what it does. It makes it a little bit harder to recover after pressing the e-stop. You have to rely on the homing switch. But here's what it is. With regards to real-time overrides, that's also true. So RF kind of buffers like a small amount. And that's one of the reasons why I personally went for Linux CNC, so I could have live jogging. But that's not really a safety thing. And RS485 it's a Modbus communication protocol. You find it in like cars and things, and that protocol can be used to communicate with your spindle, and that's really useful because you get things like spindle load back, and a bunch of information about how your spindle is performing rather than just controlling it blindly. However, so RF doesn't have that currently, support for that. The LDO VFD does support it, which is interesting. So maybe useful in the future, but we did speak to them at Smurf and they kind of expressed an interest where if there was enough demand, they would support it. So, right. Nice. I'll get some nice M4 graph screws at some point. Right. Woo. Cool. As in RF would support. In the future, hopefully it will, but right now it doesn't. That's correct. Yeah, so Josh, these handwheels didn't exist when LDO sent me this kit, so I don't have the correct grub screws. I did have some, but they were too short. I just had lying around, so I'll just have to replace them when I get to it. But a little bit of me kind of likes the fact they're not grub screws, and I can get a decent sized Allen key in there and tighten it down. Oh, right. Let me make some space and we can have a look at what we've ended up with. Sorry, excuse the drink. Still cold because this room is like 8 degrees. 10 degrees. Awesome. Right guys, so we now have the X and the Y axis assembled. We've got the hand wheels on the end. We've tested the backlash when we did each of those assemblies by sort of just putting some force on it and checking for play. We have smooth motion from end to end, which is really important. And yes, Linux CNC is hard to get up and running from scratch. So I'm just going to jog this all the way to its extent. I'm really working on trying. I want to make it easier, but I basically haven't had time. But I think a lot of the issues I was having was the board I was using.
Music.
Somewhere down in that box I've got a flexi hell board, which I think is going to be a lot easier to get up and running on Linux CNC. So me and Basil, who's also got one of those, are going to play with that. I'm going to be rewiring Milo back here to be greater than ever before, and testing out some high voltage drivers and some other bits and bobs. Yeah, other than weighing a ton, this is nice and smooth. So all the way to the end, and Josh, this exact part of what I'm doing right now is why you want the hand wheels on, because this would be a huge pain in the arse just to test this out on twisting just the lead screw by hand. Right. Honestly, if you're buying an LDO kit, just get started with RepRap firmware. Get stuck in, do some learning, find out if you really need the features in Linux CNC, because it's an extra sort of 150 quid if you hadn't already bought the control board for RepRap firmware. So you're probably about 200 extra in by the time you get back up and running with Linux CNC. Oh, even more if you start adding things like a screen and various bits and bobs. Yeah, if you didn't have this on the end, you'd want to clamp a drill on your correct. Cool. End-to-end smoothness, that's what we want to see. Right, let's wind this back to the middle, and then, well, I can hang around for questions, but other than that, I think we're done. Cool. Right guys, thank you very much. I'll probably see you at the weekend. Hopefully we'll do the Z-axis and the table. I want to get the mechanical build finished at the weekend, depending on how my other 3D printer builds and stuff go. And how crazy work is. I may try and get the electronics done as well, but we'll see. We'll see. The other two streamers, I guess just practice. I rely on the machined plate, so you do a lot of the aligning, and kind of take the fact that that's been machined on a decent CNC to help align it. I will end up checking some of these, but what I tend to do is, you see I've got it running smooth, which is great, but that doesn't really confirm they are perpendicular. You know, this could be sat at a slight angle on the top. There's a part that we can use that's basically a square a diamond and then a circle cut into the same piece, and then you can measure each of the angles and check which axis is off, and adjust. But it's quite hard to fix if they're off by much. Ooh, right. Would it be possible to order outside England, Norway from you? We keep getting asked this. I think we'd probably need to register, become VAT registered, so that we can offer anyone outside of the EU a decent price, because we pay VAT when it gets imported and we can't reclaim that when we sell it, which works fine if you live in the UK, because we don't need to re-export it, and therefore we don't end up paying VAT on our side and then you paying VAT when you yeah, and then you don't end up paying VAT twice, basically, VAT in our country and VAT in your country. So we'll get there. We will get VAT registered soon. We'll need to, based on selling all these kits. Right, that's running nicely. Yeah. Cool. Right. Thank you guys. XMY done. See you at the weekend.